A lot of people don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand, what you're hearing. It's hard to explain to them what's going on, especially if your voice does bother you. My girlfriend kind of pointed out, she's like, because I had a thing of like paper bags too. If you crinkle it, it would like drive me crazy. So we were hanging out. She would like crinkle the bag, and she's like, "That didn't bother you?" It's like, no, I guess it didn't. And one day, I just like most of the sounds that bothered me just like fizzled out. I had the tinnitus maskers to slowly retrain my brain to everyday sounds. I can do almost all the hobbies I used to like to do again. And I can talk to people, use my headphones, and do all the things I missed.
Trevor, you're someone who dealt with significant hyperacusis and tinnitus. So I'd like to first just start with where are you today and how does that compare to where things were at its worst?
Where I am today is much better. I can do almost all the hobbies I used to like to do again. And I can talk to people, use my headphones, and do all the things I missed. I couldn't listen to anybody whisper to me. I couldn't shower properly. I couldn't flush the toilet. Sinks, couldn't drop anything. It was a living nightmare, yeah. So my quality of life is definitely better.
Wow. All right, we're going to talk about how you got there. What are the tools that helped you? First, I want to ask, why are you doing this podcast? Why are you sharing your story here to others?
So I love what Treble Health does, and I want to be able to help people just like you guys helped me. It was a very dark time in my life, and I think everybody should have someone like me or someone that's experienced in it or has had it that can come out and talk to them.
Perfect. So let's jump into it. What were those trigger sounds for you? Tell us about when your sound sensitivity started to take off, and what was that like? What kind of sounds were just you couldn't deal with?
Well, at first I noticed I had a lot of like autophony, so it was like my own voice was really I have a very deep voice that would really bother me, and I thought it was really weird. I brushed it off at first, and it like kind of like just faded away for a bit. But then one morning I woke up and fans in my room started to sound extremely loud. My girlfriend's voice was extremely loud, and like the toilet was really where I noticed it. Or when I flushed it was just like my head was like rattling from the noise. It was bad. So it's mainly the toilet.
Yeah, water running. That.
Yeah.
What about sounds like dishes clanking?
Oh yeah.
Driving on the highway, music. How about those types of sounds too?
Yeah. Those were all pretty bad for me.
At what point in your journey did you get professional help for this, and what did you actually do in that treatment process?
It was actually really early on. I didn't know what was going on for a couple months, and I started researching, and I came across Treble Health, and I figured, why not? My mental health was declining because of I couldn't go out and do anything. So I decided to jump on Treble Health. I think it was around like December. It got really bad when I had an ear infection, and I wanted to solve it. So I went through you guys in December, and now it's close to a year since I've been with you guys. Yeah.
So if you'd like to schedule a free consultation to explore which tinnitus treatment is right for you, click the link right there to book a free call today. And my team will take care of all the next steps to help you. So how did you actually get better? What were the tools that you used?
Well, I worked with Suzanne May, who is fantastic. She's the best. She helped me a lot. I had the tinnitus maskers to slowly retrain my brain to everyday sounds. I have it going right now, my sound machine that I got through the bundle. And the CBT was probably the biggest part for me. CBT that she offered me.
Okay, so the maskers you described, those were playing sound therapy, and those were programmed for hyperacusis treatment. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So what did that sound like, and how often did you wear those?
Well, me and Suzanne went through a lot of noises, and I found that pink noise worked very well for me. So she started me very low with like 5-minute intervals at a certain volume that I could handle. And we slowly went up to like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30. And I I slowly started noticing a difference as I continued to do that.
Okay. And how did that work with your life at the time? Were you know, inside in your house for all hours of the day at this point? Were you still working? Were you getting outside much?
So I was inside most of the time. Yeah, I couldn't work. No matter what I tried to do, I just wasn't able to go to work. So that got put on pause. And as for outside, I'd still go out because I'm a very anxious person. So whenever my ears would get really bad, I'd put like an earplug in and go out and just try and enjoy day to day life. But when you go inside of like a Target or something, it's pretty gnarly for my ears at the time.
Yeah, walking around a store or a restaurant was, I imagine, for a period of time, just too overwhelming, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't go out with friends. I couldn't really do anything. Yeah, they'd ask me to hang out, and I had to say no. I couldn't do it.
Okay, so what advice would you have for someone who's just starting to learn about hyperacusis treatment or solutions? This same person may have heard from their doctor there wasn't much they could do. They may have looked online and been scared by some information. So what
Yeah,
advice would you have for that person?
I think my biggest advice is just really not give up on finding help and sticking with a treatment. I think there's a lot of things on the internet that I've seen personally that are extremely terrifying about hyperacusis, and that really has an effect on your brain and how you're healing. So I think a big part of it is just to not give up hope on healing and your journey through that.
I love that. It's very important. And it's important that we share this message here to respond or show a different possibility, as opposed to some online forums or other places that sometimes may show the worst possible outcome. So,
Yeah.
what did you learn with the CBT? You mentioned the cognitive behavioral therapy techniques with Dr. Suzanne May and our team. What is that? If someone asked you, "Hey, what is CBT for hyperacusis?" What would you say?
Well, cognitive behavioral therapy, of course, is CBT, but primarily it was to not view things like, we talked about, me and Dr. Suzanne May, that setbacks is a very negative term to put on hyperacusis. So she wanted me to start thinking of them as speed bumps. So I started doing that. And instead of looking at them negatively, I just saw it as, okay, this is a speed bump. I just have to get through it. And it helped kind of rewire my brain to thinking about things negatively. And another one was that when a sound bothered me, I told myself that, this sound is not harmful to me. This sound can't hurt me, and it's okay. Things like that.
So, how did you approach exposing yourself to more natural everyday sounds? For example, when was the first time you went out to a restaurant during the treatment period? When was the first time you went to the grocery store? Do you remember those times?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was actually texting Dr. Suzanne May. I had asked her a question and she was able to get back to me. I went into a Target because my girlfriend loves to go in Target, and she suggested that, go to a quieter spot in the Target if I can find one, and take the earplugs out for like 5 seconds, 15 seconds if I can, but have them there as a safety mechanism just in case it's too much. So when I started going out, I slowly took them out, put them back in, and just kept retraining.
Well, did you use the same strategy at a restaurant?
The restaurant took a while. I went to it was like a jazz cafe or something. I went with some buddies, and I had my earplugs in, and there was a moment in there where I didn't even notice that my earplugs were kind of like slipping out. And then I kind of caught my attention where I was like, there's live music going on and this isn't bothering me. That's weird. So I gave it a few more seconds and then I put them back in. And the next day I tried to go to another restaurant. I went on a date with my girlfriend and I was able to sit there for a good length of time before I put them back in.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so with hyperacusis treatment, there's on one side the physiological sensitivity to the sound. We might call this the part you can't control. Then there's the psychological fear or resistance of, I don't want another speed bump. I'm trying to avoid speed bumps. I'm driving in a car, and whenever there's an
Yeah.
option to go to the side to swerve around the speed bump, I'm going to try to take it. So what was your approach to earplugs? What's your advice? What kind of earplugs did you find worked for you? Did you have different filter strengths, or did you just keep with one earplug, or what?
So I have like an arsenal of earplugs essentially, because when I was going through the gauntlet of them, I wanted to find the one that worked for me. I originally started with foam earplugs, which I mean, there's like pretty like a lot of sound does not come through those, and I figured out that kind of made me more uncomfortable, especially because when I have those in, my voice is more projected in my head. I was like, okay, I'll try something else. I tried the Flare Calmers, I think they were. They have like the opening in the back.
I call
And
that the earplug light. It's sort of
yeah,
like the lightest possible earplug because it only
yeah,
restricts some of the high pitched sounds, just 6 decibels or something.
yeah, exactly. And I was using that for a little bit, and it wasn't enough at the time. Like I'd wear those around the house a little bit more than the dense ones, just because I wanted to let more sound come in naturally. But then I found these are my favorite ones. Like I'll still like sometimes I have like a little afraid moment, and I'll like pop it in, and I'm like I don't need to use it, But yeah, those work very well for me. Those were the best. Yeah.
Okay, so you're, nearly 12 months after you've first really, had these intense symptoms and came to us. What was your timeline? It should be said that everyone's timeline for treatment is different, but just curious, what was your timeline of how many weeks before you started to feel a little better? And then when did you feel, okay, I'm pretty much fully done with this?
I'd say since starting Treble Health, I started feeling better probably around April. April is when I
Okay.
really started to notice a change, like
So it took that took
consistently.
that took 3 months, 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about the final resolve state? Pretty similar to where you are now of, hey, this is pretty much not an issue in my life anymore. It doesn't really affect me. How long did it take to reach that point?
Definitely like July.
Okay.
July is when like it wasn't a thing much anymore.
Okay. So it's about 8 months. Okay. Did I tell you the story about one of my hyperacusis patients who, when she started with me, was in a really severe place? Her air conditioner was just like too loud, and she lived in San Diego, like in the summer. Like that doesn't work. That's bad. And then a year later, we're at a follow-up appointment, or I meet with her, and she's doing a lot better. And she casually mentions that she now rides on the back of motorcycles. And I go, Loretta, do you realize what you just said? I think your hyperacusis is cured. I mean, you're not needing to, you're not affected by the riding on a motorcycle. And she said, huh, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it is pretty much gone. So what does that show you? I mean, are these changes so subtle and progressive that it's sometimes hard to realize, like, oh, I guess I have improved a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. It kind of goes back to I love to go out with my friends. I love to like go to the bar or whatever. And I noticed I would just kept like going more and more. And like there's no speed bumps or anything. The occasional like if someone drops a glass on the floor, like that'll kind of spook me a little bit. But yeah, it was so gradual. I mean, I hardly noticed it, and then like my girlfriend kind of pointed out, she's like, because I had a thing of like paper bags too. If you crinkle it, it would like drive me crazy. So we were hanging out. She would like crinkle the bag, and she's like, that didn't bother you? It's like, no, I guess it didn't. And one day I just like most of the sounds that bothered me just like fizzled out.
I love to hear this. I love to hear this. So, you have some people listening who are maybe in a position you were a year ago or so. What do they need to know? You mentioned hope, you mentioned information and education. What do folks need to know?
I think something that helped me the most and a whole lot was, really like kind of create something that's bigger than yourself, like a dream that you really want to like reach and strive towards, because that really gave me like the purpose to keep like pushing through all of this. I think creating like a large purpose for yourself is really good. Yeah.
Would you like to share the purpose that helped you get through these times?
Yeah, sure. Me and my girlfriend, we were talking, in a parking lot late at night because my ear was really, really bothering me. And I had my earplugs in. I had to talk quietly and listen quietly. And, we had this crazy, crazy dream of like, what if we push through this and then, go out of country and go live in a different country for a bit. And I started to like put my face in some books, and I found my life purpose and what I want to do in life and the job I want to do. And honestly, like Hyperacusis helped me find that because I was at such a low point in my life. But I had to find purpose. I had to find something that was bigger than what was going on in my head.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, I want to support you in that. Let's make that happen. Let's make the dreams come true. Any advice for people who have a partner, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend? If your own voice is triggering, that makes it hard to communicate, and it may cause some conflict or just some misunderstanding. So any advice for someone who's trying to communicate this with their family or their spouse?
I mean, it's hard. A lot of people don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand, what you're hearing. It's hard to explain to them what's going on, especially if your voice does bother you. I had to write notes. I missed Christmases. I missed, holidays with my family, and I had to explain to them what was going on. As for your partner, they should be really supportive with you through your healing journey. And I'm very fortunate for the one I have in my life. And, there was days where she felt so bad that I couldn't talk. She'd go and get a pizza from the store, grab it, throw a movie on, but turn all the volume down and put on subtitles. And we would just hang out and eat pizza, just silent, and watch a movie with subtitles. And we talk about that today. Now I can turn the TV on and listen to it again. So it's quite the change, man. If I didn't have her, I don't know if I would have done as well. It's great to have somebody so supportive. Which is great. Another reason why Treble Health is amazing. I mean, Dr. Suzanne May was fantastic. She was a really good support.
She'll be happy to hear this interview. All right, Trevor. Well, I really appreciate you, and keep me updated on a personal level of your goal of tracking towards it. And yeah, I hope we can meet in person one day.
That'd be great, man. Yeah. I appreciate everything you do as well. I mean, you were the front page of everything with Hyperacusis, and you're really making a difference. And I think that's awesome, man. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
I love it. Trevor, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story, and hope to talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
You got it. If you'd like to explore which tinnitus solution is right for you, book a free call with my team at Treble Health. We can meet over Zoom and discuss which option is the best fit for your treatment. Click the link on the screen right now, and we'll see you on the free call.